Welcome back to the Next Level Minds podcast. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this is a podcast dedicated to those who want to reach a next level in their business, personal, or career life. Every other week, I'm blessed to sit down with qualified guests and walk through their story of how they've gotten from point A to point B in their life and overcame various adversities along the way. Today's topic is really going to be all about building your success. I'm sitting down with a good friend of mine, country music artist Haley Mae Campbell, who has absolutely exploded the country music scene, not only in her hometown of Charleston, but Nashville as well. She currently has over 1.5 million streams on Spotify and is included on the Hot Country and Wild Country playlist. And I'm confident she's only going to continue to grow. Now, Haley really takes the time to walk each and every one of you through her story of how she grew of where she is today. She overcame some failures, some anxiety, some nervousness, and what she really did was create a great life for herself through country music. She built proper relationships and executed on her dreams, visions, and goals. And I'm confident that these steps and procedures don't only apply to the music industry, but they also apply to anything and everything in life if you're trying to build something for yourself. So I wanted to thank each and every one of you personally for tuning in to this week's episode of Next Level Minds. And as we like to say here at the Next Level Minds podcast, your mindset is your greatest weapon for the battle of success. Haley, I just want to really thank you for joining the Next Level Minds podcast. Really appreciate you being on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So I know I gave a brief introduction earlier. Based on that, what do you want all of our listeners to know about you?
Well, for anyone that doesn't know my music or isn't familiar with me, I'm a 21-year-old country singer-songwriter, originally from Charleston, South Carolina, and living in Nashville now. So
okay.
That's pretty much the gist.
Gotcha. So what was kind of like that time frame like of from Charleston to Nashville? Because I know we grew up together.
For sure. I moved to Nashville, actually, I think exactly 2 years ago, either today or tomorrow, pretty much exactly 2 years ago. So it's been a pretty awesome journey. But obviously I grew up in Charleston, been there for all of the rest of my years. And yeah, that's the timeline.
Gotcha. And then how long did you say you've been in Nashville now?
I've been in Nashville for 2 years.
Okay. And then when you were in Charleston, so like kind of take everyone back to how you initially got started on your music career. Yeah,
it's kind of funny. I got a guitar for my 13th birthday, immediately fell in love with writing songs and figuring out how to play it. And I actually fronted like a cover band when I was like 14, 15, which was so funny. Like I was busking downtown, which for anybody that's been to Charleston knows, like there's street, performers, musicians playing for tips down there all the time. And that was kind of like my gig, especially during the summer when, it's all tourist season. But this guy like came by, heard me play and like gave me his card and was like, do you want to like join our band? I think he thought that I was like at least 21, but I was like 15 at the time. And then, I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And my mom like brought me to practice and he was like, wait, I'm so confused. Are you in high school? And I was like, yeah. But it worked out really great. I played with them for like a year, maybe a little over a year. And it was kind of my first introduction to like playing in bars, and for a 15-year-old, I felt pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. So when you first started going to the bars downtown, was there any nervousness with it, or was it just like, hey, let's go, let's do it?
I don't think there was nervousness. Maybe like the first couple of times, but like I just kind of loved performing. I grew up doing musical theater, and I just like always loved being on stage, and kind of connecting with people that way through music was always kind of like my favorite thing.
Yeah. Was there any type of, because I know performing in front of people sometimes can be nervous and everything. Was there any like just hiccups or failures you had when you first initially started?
Oh, definitely. The amount of times I probably forgot the words like to certain songs and just kind of like had to like, you know, a certain line or whatever. I mean, I did this last night, for goodness sake. That's always the thing that gets me, is if I get distracted and I'm like thinking about something else, like, okay, the gig tomorrow, like whatever, because there's always so much going on. I'm always constantly like trying to think ahead, but the bad place to do that is on stage. But sometimes it gets the best of me and I'll like slip up and forget a lyric or something, and I have to kind of like fudge my way through and just kind of hope nobody notices. But those are always pretty funny, especially when they are like really bad.
Yeah.
which does happen. I actually recently messed up like one of my own songs at this place, Wild Horse in Nashville, which is like a huge stage, super professional, like lighting, sound. You know, they have like a camera, people, and I like totally messed up one of my own songs, and I was like, wow, that's really disappointing. But you know, it was one of my first times playing that venue, and it was such a big kind of stage, and it felt like so huge, and I was like so nervous. So that definitely is my most recent experience with being super nervous on stage.
So did you think anyone noticed when that happened?
I don't think so. Until after, when we like tried to skip to the next song and like a little bit of that last track played, because we had to cut it in the middle because I messed it up. So sometimes we play with like backing tracks for original songs, and it kind of beefs them up, you know. And yeah, when I messed it up, we got off the track, so we had to like cut it and just play the rest, you know, without it. So then, like, when you skip to the next song, like, we were in the middle of the last one, so we just, like, played a little clip of it and then skipped. So I think maybe somebody probably noticed, but hopefully just the sound engineers.
Other than that. So let me ask you this. I've always been very impressed, I know our listeners are as well, of just common growth stories that are out there, whether it's entrepreneurship, starting a business, or, you know, moving up in your company, or musical artists like yourself. So I know you've really blown up in Charleston, especially. What was kind of like the steps, processes that you took to get to that level in Charleston when you were there? Yeah,
I think when I started out in Charleston, there really was no country scene. There wasn't a lot of like country artists that were playing out, at least to my knowledge. So that was kind of interesting. So I was playing out and doing shows, and I was getting opportunities just organically through like the radio stations in Charleston. I think that's definitely something that really helped me kind of getting that, you know, initial takeoff in Charleston, because when your name's advertised on the radio, for a great example is 103.5 The Weasel. I go back every year to do their Party in the Park show, because not only is it an awesome show every year, but they've always been so good to me. Brian Cleary is the first person that ever put me on the radio, and they've just been so good to me over the years. And they're actually, so to full circle that moment, they're actually sponsoring my hometown show at the Music Farm at the end of this month. So they're the official sponsor. So just kind of having the chance to start out building those relationships, because I was one of the only kind of acts. And, you know, once I got on their radar, they were like, okay, great, we'll have Haley open up for, you know, whatever show we have coming through town. So getting that experience and getting to really open up for, you know, stars in my industry was really, really cool. I think that was definitely a huge bonus of living in Charleston and kind of getting started at the time I was getting started, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Would you say that relationships are part of the key process to kind of build from the ground up? Oh, yeah. I mean, I think especially, you hear it all the time in the music industry, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I think that is definitely true, especially in the country industry, because it's almost a little bit more traditional in the sense that, like, radio is still the forefront of what makes or breaks an artist in country. You know, if you have a hit song on the radio and it goes to number one, then, like, you're pretty much good. Yeah. Obviously, you have to continue to work to keep that track record up, but getting a song on the radio and getting it up the charts is still one of the most important things in country. And I think a lot of other formats have kind of deviated from that, whether it be, you know, obviously Spotify is a huge player in new music discovery right now. And, you know, in pop radio, even if something goes viral, they'll just play it because they know that people are already listening to it online and they want to stay current. They want to watch the trends online because people are always discovering new music that way. So it's really interesting to be in country where it's kind of more traditional and you have to do it the kind of old school way, which is, you know, if you want a song on the radio, you have to have a record label backing you. So it's that's definitely something that I haven't gotten the chance to really break into yet. Like I said before, I've had some stations where I'm doing a show for them. They'll play the song, you know, once or twice to promote, but getting a song in rotation, I think, is still kind of one of those things that people really have to work really hard for. So that's definitely a goal of mine.
Okay. And then with building the relationships with the radio stations, let's say there's somebody in the starting position of wanting to become a music artist. Is it initially just finding their number online, reaching out on Instagram, Facebook? Like, kind of what's that process like?
Yeah, I think for people that are just starting out, I would say, getting to know, and this is something I'm actually just learning now about Nashville, because obviously I just turned 21 in May. So, but the reason you move to Nashville is to be surrounded by Nashville. You know what I mean? So the advice I've been getting lately is be in the scene, go out to shows, meet people and that kind of thing. And I think just showing your face and showing that you're, being part of the community is really important. I think people want to see that you're supporting other artists in order to get on board and supporting you. So I think just being out and about, supporting other acts, meeting them, getting their phone number, maybe ask them to write, that kind of thing. I think that's very valuable, because you don't have to be playing 10 shows a month, or, you don't have to have a label to just go out and meet people, at shows and kind of build it up grassroots organically that way. So I think building that network and finding your tribe is super important for sure, especially in a new city or in a city like Nashville.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a firm believer of, you are the 5 or 10 people who hang around, because they shape you. So I'm sure that relates also to the music industry.
Absolutely.
As you mentioned. So I know in my realm, in the business and entrepreneurship world, that mentorship is huge. Is that the same with music as well? Definitely.
I think there's another phenomenon that I've seen in Nashville where, like you said, the 5 or 10 people you hang around kind of shape you and lift you up. And there's this really cool thing that happens in Nashville where somebody from one group will get signed or get a pub deal or something like that. And then you'll kind of see other people in their same group get that recognition and kind of come up along with them. So it's definitely really cool to see things like that. I think, definitely that kind of group recognition is very prominent.
Yeah, definitely. So did you have any moments, especially in Charleston, because I know you mentioned country music was just starting off, of any just kind of I feel like giving up, no one's listened to me, because it's hard to measure the kind of ROI, rate of return of where your music's going sometimes. So
for sure, there's definitely a period of time, I would say close to the time I decided to move, where I was, playing kind of the same circuit of, bars and coffee shops and restaurants and that kind of thing. And in a lot of those situations, they're just okay, here's your corner, go set up over there and play covers for 3 hours. So it did get a little tough, just knowing that there's kind of a dead end in the Charleston scene, just because of the tourism aspect. People are going to want live music, but they want it to be kind of background music for the food or whatever else is going on. So I definitely ran into that a lot, which was discouraging at times, to just kind of be in the corner at a restaurant and be I could stop playing and nobody would care, So
yeah,
that was definitely one of my deciding factors in moving to Nashville. Obviously, it's a lot bigger sea. I'm a lot smaller of a fish there, but at least there's room to grow and expand, and pretty much the sky's the limit. So.
Yeah, definitely. So fast forwarding to when you moved to Nashville, day one, right? What was kind of going through your mind at that time?
I was kind of oh crap, I am here. And now there's no excuse for, oh, well, I'm not in Nashville, so I can't do this. And I kind of realized that pretty quickly, and I was okay, I really need to make the most of every single day that I'm here. So I kind of just went full steam ahead with that mindset and, tried to jump into writing rooms with new people. Like I said, at that time I was going to shows that were all ages or 18 and up.
Yeah.
But just trying to get involved, and I had a brief stint of Broadway gigs, which not the most fun thing you can do in Nashville, but definitely a good way to meet people and make some extra cash. So, it's kind of, I know you have a similar mindset, it's just all about the hustle. You just got to be working all the time and always thinking about what else can I be doing. So.
Yeah. So I know everyone gets these days, no matter how motivated they are. What keeps you going on those days when you don't feel like getting out of bed or don't feel like going to the show?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's tough, especially right now, because I'm pretty much out on tour every single weekend. So basically Friday through Sunday, I'm out of town in a van, living in a van. And then Monday through Thursday, I'm in Nashville and writing or, recording or meeting with people or whatever that week may be. And sometimes it's really hard to motivate yourself to do anything else than like what bare minimum you have to do that day. So that's definitely something that I struggle with, finding that motivation to be like, oh, well, I just got home. I want to get dressed and get ready and go talk to people and be social. But, it is super important. And it's funny, like Nashville is a very like up and down kind of roller coaster. I definitely have those days where, a perfect example is like, why hasn't anybody like emailed me back? Like even just something as simple as like, why can't I just get a response from this one thing I'm trying to book or, this one show I'm trying to be a part of? It can really like kind of ruin your day. It's crazy. And then, the next day you might get 3 things show up in your inbox that are great opportunities or, somebody reaching out about something or, we're going to put your video on here or whatever. So it's really hard to, when you're in the middle of like kind of a down day where nothing's happening and you're feeling like a little bit stressed because what else can you be doing to kind of like secure new opportunities and push your momentum forward. It's definitely tough to like kind of bring yourself back and just be like, hey, this is the big picture. Let me not get bogged down in this one day that nothing great happened because there's always tomorrow. And a lot of times I find the next day I'll wake up and something really cool has happened. Like the other day, I was kind of having one of those days, and then I woke up the next morning and found out that Genius did a behind the lyrics feature on Anything But Yellow on Spotify. So now when you scroll down, there's like a whole analysis of the lyrics, and it's so cool. I'm like, I've never seen that for an artist that's, at my level. I've only seen that for, big pop artists, like Drake or Zara Larsson. So I don't know how that happened. They did not notify me, but the fact that I just kind of found it, was just enough to just kind of get my, serotonin levels back to a normal level. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of up and down, but I think keeping that big picture mindset is really important.
Kind of looking at the overall goals and overall process of
and even not being afraid to like look at your achievements, because I definitely do that a lot where like you said earlier about, when the podcast gets to 1 million streams, you're going to take the whole month off. Like I totally felt that way when Anything But Yellow hit 1 million streams. I was like, oh my God, perfect. And then like 5 minutes later, I was like, crap, what's next? So it's definitely like, it's hard sometimes when you're kind of a workaholic and like an entrepreneur like we are, to let yourself kind of like have a little moment to like revel in the success, because it's, those first time things are only going to happen once. Like I'm only going to hit 1 million streams for like the first time once. So it definitely is hard sometimes to slow down a little bit, and it seems like counterintuitive, but really allowing yourself, I think, to sit in that moment and be like, this is hard work paying off. I think it's really important. Yeah.
So really good question. This will help me out as well as probably a lot of listeners along with that. So I'm definitely on the same boat, highs follow lows, lows follow highs. I mean, I just got a new job. I'm obviously the podcast, building a company on the side. So all this stuff's happening, and it's hard for me just to sit back and be like, wow, I'm accomplishing a lot.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of my listeners are doing 5, 6, 7 different things. So how do you really like take a moment and just relax and accept it?
Yeah, I think a lot of times and this even goes into like my just life schedule with like being on the road, like I mentioned, and then being in town. I've kind of found that if I just can plan like one afternoon or like one evening or one morning, I'm not a morning person, so it's usually afternoon or evening, where I just don't have anything scheduled. And even if it's just like time for me to like kind of sit around and like clean my room, which I haven't done in a month, or you know what I mean, just go to the grocery store and like kind of refuel and like recharge, or watch a movie. Like I never get to watch a movie. Like these are just like kind of little things that I think like kind of just bring me back to reality and bring me back to like okay, I'm just a person. Like, I need to have time for, those self-care elements of, slowing down and just being around friends too. I mean, obviously I tour with my band and they're my best friends, so I'm with them all the time, but it's totally different dynamic when you're out on the road working versus, hey, let's get together and like have a bottle of champagne and just hang out, on the patio or whatever. Just having time set aside, and it's so hard because obviously that is time. You could be working or figuring out what's next or brainstorming or anything like that, but I think it's really important to set aside some time, especially if you can with friends. But if you're, if you're a little bit more on the reserve side or, introverted, setting aside time for yourself, after doing all these social things that entrepreneurs have to do to kind of build up their businesses. I think setting aside that time to just kind of be like, and take a deep breath. Yeah. And go, okay, this is all really cool. What I'm doing is really cool. And, you deserve to have that moment yourself to just be like, wow, okay, God is great. And I'm just sitting in this moment and taking it all in. So I think that that's definitely something, just if you know that you're kind of reaching a point where you're getting burned out, don't let yourself get to that point. Just take a breather, take a rest. People will understand, if you have to cancel something or not go somewhere that your friends were expecting you to go, or a business event or something that's like, oh, I should go to this, but I don't really have to, and I haven't just kind of had a moment to myself in peace in a while. I think it's pretty important to take those and just give yourself time to reflect on everything, because it can clear your head and kind of help you. And just be present in the situation at hand. Absolutely. Yeah. Be present, and don't, even as hard as it is, in those moments that you set aside, don't be thinking ahead about, oh, now I have to do this and this and this. Just say, wow, this is really great. Look at the people I'm sharing this with. It's important. Yeah. Would you say that turning off your social media notifications is key during that time? I did that a long time ago. Yeah. I definitely think that, creating a no distraction zone in those times is just another way to keep, like you said, being present in the moment. So just putting your phone in another room, leaving it on the charger, just take a couple hours. You don't need to be on it. Like, that email can wait, Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people, including myself, struggle with that, especially building a business, building your, music acts. It's just hard to turn it off, but I completely agree with what you're saying about having the time for yourself. Totally. Obviously, your schedule is really busy. I know you mentioned that you're going on tours on the weekend. You're doing a lot of, great things in Nashville during the week. Kind of walk everyone through, like, what's your day-to-day like to just, like, stay productive during that time? Yeah, usually when I'm in Nashville, my mornings usually start off with a writing session, which I love. I mean, songwriting is obviously the beginning of the whole rest of the process, so it's really awesome. And lately I've been able to get together with some really, really awesome writers, so always just kind of trying to expand that network and get into more writing rooms is awesome. And then, the afternoon is either usually like working on music, like recording, or, a rehearsal maybe, or just, kind of getting on my computer and booking. I do all my booking myself as well. So it's usually, the afternoon is usually kind of just working on like the whole business as, whatever needs doing, website needs updating. I need to make a poster for this show. That kind of miscellaneous list of to-dos is usually the afternoon. And then, in the evening, usually just trying to go out to a show, or, not go out to a show, whatever. Whatever the day brings. But I love to go to a few showcases they have in town every week. One of my favorites is Whiskey Jam, which is every Monday and Thursday. So if it's a Monday or Thursday and I'm done with all of that earlier stuff, then I reward myself by kind of going out and hanging out with some friends. Yeah, having a whiskey after too. Yes, finally. Finally. Yeah, definitely. So what advice would you have out there for our listeners that not only in the music industry, but let's say they're moving to a new city, they're trying to make something of themselves, whether it's
their business, entrepreneurship, or music like yourself, like what would you suggest that they can just plant a big seed?
Yeah, it's tough moving to a new city. I remember when I moved to Nashville and we didn't really have any friends there yet. It's really hard, but I went to a lot of stuff by myself and just forced myself to talk to people, sat down at a table, with other people and just kind of naturally get brought into the conversation because people are generally just really nice. Like, I know there's a lot of, especially in Nashville and in the South.
Yeah, the South,
I mean, people are so inviting, and that's just one thing I've been able to fall back on. So obviously, if you're moving to a city up north,
like
I don't know nothing about that.
Not.
Good luck. I know it's tough, especially New York. My best friend lives up there, and she is absolutely grinding it out. My sister lives there as well, and I don't know how they do it, honestly. New York is so fast, but that's one thing I love about Nashville is like it's kind of a nice happy medium between a big city with big city mindsets and, small town Southern people, So I think really just getting out there in the scene, exploring, finding out whether it be just researching online, like where do people in my industry hang out? Like where can I meet and connect with people that are like-minded or doing similar things. I think that is definitely a great way to get your feet wet,
Yeah, definitely. So I want to ask one more mindset-oriented question, and I'd love to spend the remaining time kind of asking what you have right now and what you have in the future within your music. So mindset-wise, what would you say is like key to your success to kind of get to the level that you are now and the continuation level that you are going to get to?
Yeah, I think a really good way of thinking about it is just and I realize this more and more now as I'm getting older, but like looking back on kind of my whole story, I just kind of realized that I never really had a backup plan. And I think a lot of people, I think music is kind of unique because a lot of people either view musicians or look at people that want to be in a band or like, be a musician as kind of, like they're just trying this and if, for a couple years and if it doesn't work, then they'll get a real job. But I think people that are truly dedicated to a creative outlet are, really just need to be absolutely dedicated and not ever have in the back of their mind, like, well, I could always go back to such and such. Like I personally have never had another job outside of music other than one time I was a barista and I was really bad at it. And I was like baristaing at the same place that I was playing on the weekends. And I was like, this is so silly. I can make 3 times as much money playing one gig than I could do. So obviously like you have to build up those connections and the money stuff is really hard when you're getting started, especially. But I'm super fortunate right now. I'm paying all of my bills and keeping afloat with just, doing music full time. So I think that having just absolutely being dedicated to what you're doing and fully present and not thinking about what if this doesn't work out? What am I going to do if this doesn't work out? Because you just have to be totally dedicated or else you're always going to find that plan B. You're always going to know that you can fall back on something. And I think that can take away from the determination that you could have if you just put all of your effort into what you really want to do. So that's what I've been trying to do.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I know on my end, my business partner and I, we're trying to build an app right now, and we're getting closer to the finishing product. And the other day we chatted, and we were like, man, what's a plan B in case it doesn't work out? And we both stopped each other in our tracks, like, there is no plan B. Like, this is the plan B, and completely agree with that. So I think that relates to all. So I guess would your one word for success be determination then?
Yeah, I think determination, and the music industry, of course, is just like any other in the in the way that you're going to hear no 1,000 times before you hear that one yes, I'm in this kind of interesting time where I'm just starting to have like meetings with record labels and that kind of thing. And, it's just so funny. Like I went into a meeting and, they're like, oh, if only we didn't already have 2 other female artists. I'm like, well, that's crazy to hear, but okay. I mean, but it is, any industry, there's going to be roadblocks and pitfalls and all that kind of stuff. So I think, if you're just determined and you're good at what you do, everything timing wise will work out the way it's supposed to work out.
So true. So within your music, what do you really have going on right now? And and what's kind of the plans for the future? I'd actually personally love to hear it
Absolutely. Well, obviously you mentioned earlier about Anything But Yellow is killing it on Spotify. That's the first song that I've ever had reach 1 million streams, so go check it out, listeners, if you haven't heard it. It's also the first single I've ever released that's gotten those editorial Spotify placements. So right now it's featured on New Boots with a vertical video, which is awesome, and Wild Country, and then we actually had a month-long run on Hot Country, which is Spotify's #1 country playlist. So it was super cool, and just an honor to kind of see my song next to, Luke Combs, Carrie Underwood, Dierks Bentley, and I got to chat with the guy who was responsible for all those playlists, and I met him actually in Charleston a few years ago at Charleston Music Confab, which was a great resource to me, and I'm sure a lot of other Charleston musicians feel the same way. But yeah, goes back to the beginning, just fostering that relationship and having the chance to send him music back in the day, and then getting to kind of show him the new music where he was like, this song is ready, he loved it. And so that's kind of what's going on there with that song, and we're just kind of building on that and building up to the next release, which is going to be late September, which I'm super excited about. I feel like this song is the best song I've ever written / recorded, and it's called Ghost Stories. It's going to be out late September.
You said Ghost or Go?
Ghost Stories.
Ghost Stories, okay. Gotcha. Is there any artists that you've kind of gotten your motivation and try to build your music off of?
I think some of my favorite artists to watch right now are Morgan Wallen and Ray Lynn. Ray Lynn is one of my favorite country artists ever. I think she is kind of still a little bit more on the new up-and-coming side, but she is just so, everything about her is so fun, and her social media presence is on point. She knows exactly who she is, and she really capitalizes on it. So watching her kind of rise is really awesome. She was on The Voice way back when, and Blake Shelton kind of took her under his wing and brought her on tour, and she's just awesome.
Yeah.
She's a super big inspiration for me.
Yeah, definitely. Where I know we have a lot of listeners in big cities across the U.S. Where's your next kind of tour going to be, would you say?
We are working on that now. Like I mentioned before, we have the end of this month is going to wrap up the Asking for a Friend tour, which is what I'm currently calling it.
That's cool.
And then we're going to be launching the next one, which will be, throughout the end of the year and beginning of next year. So we are working on booking that stuff now, but obviously going to be coming back to the Carolinas. I love coming home to the Carolinas. But one place I'd love to go is Chicago. Never been to Chicago before, and my drummer's from there. So, and I've gotten a lot of Instagram DMs of people saying, you should come to Chicago. So if anybody is in Chicago and knows where we should play, hit me up.
Yeah. They do country music up there?
Apparently they love it. They've got a lot of festivals up there and that kind of thing. So that's definitely something I'd love to do more of, is festival type events, because they're just so fun and you get to meet a lot of other artists.
Yeah. Is that stressful picking where to do the tours and everything?
Yeah, it can be. We try to do it logically, based off of where we have friends or family or listeners, that kind of thing. Spotify analytics have been really helpful with that, because I can see exactly where my listeners are. So that's been really cool to kind of get to try and plan out around those. Obviously, the first time you go to a new market, it's pretty tough as far as getting a show there, because obviously you've never played there before. It's kind of a catch-22. They're like, well, you've never played here before. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to, because I have fans there. So it's kind of one of those things where you have to just work on it over time. But yeah, definitely Chicago would be a new market that I'd love to hit.
Yeah, a next market you should definitely go to. Okay. So everything out there, you have an amazing story. Do you have any, I guess, final advice for listeners? I know you're just filled with knowledge and everything.
I'm just kind of talking and you're letting me go for a long time, which is great. I just think, like I said earlier, stay true to who you are. A lot of people will try to tell you what you have to be or how you should change. But if something feels right to you and that's what you are doing, then I think just stay true to your craft and stay true to your vision, and you'll find the right people that are going to align with that.
Definitely. So If people want to connect with you, where's the best place to reach out?
Absolutely. Obviously, I'm on social media, Facebook, Instagram at Haley Mae Campbell, or my website is haleymaecampbell.com. Spotify, give me a follow on there for the new music coming out. You'll be getting a notification when that comes out, which is very cool. And also, if you follow me on Spotify, they'll send you an email when we're coming to your city to play. So lots of great resources there. Spotify is really, really great for artists. So, yeah.
So if you're in Chicago,
you'll get that
email.
Hit follow and you'll get that email when we're coming to town. That's right.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks again for being a guest on the Next Level Minds podcast.
This is awesome.
Yeah, this was awesome. And guys, everyone out there, just in closing, Haley has a lot of grit and determination to really just conquer her craft, and it's all about really putting in the work, having the determination to keep going when it really feels like it's not going anywhere. Something that really resonated with me was just having no plan B, having your plan A be your only plan, and just be on the lookout for the next tour launching. If you're in Chicago, hopefully she's coming there. And definitely listen to Anything But Yellow. It's an amazing song. And Ghost Stories, like she mentioned, is coming out in September, so stay tuned for that. And I want to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in. And as we like to say here at Next Level Minds, your mindset is your greatest weapon for the battle of success.